Okay, one thing that I have wanted for my YouTube videos is some kind of lapel microphone. I also wanted something that was relatively inexpensive and easy to use, and that's just something that I could just plug into my phone whenever I want to make a quick video out here. So I got on Amazon and I searched wireless lapel microphone, and I found this in one of the top searches, and I was like, that's actually kind of intriguing. It's a Bluetooth lapel microphone that has a USB-C, like a lightning connector, and like a microphone 3.5mm auxiliary jack built into the receiver. So it has two transmitters that you clip to your shirt, and then here's the receiver that you either plug into your camera or you plug into your phone or your iPhone or whatever. And this was not expensive. I think it was like $27 or something like that. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. So I will admit right now that I haven't used this yet, but I have taken these out of the packaging just so that I could charge them. That way that I know everything's completely charged. One of the things that drew me to this particular microphone is the fact that it is completely wireless, apart from whenever you're charging it, right? You plug it in to charge it. It has little USB ports here. But let me just open it up. And it's a relatively simple package. It comes with two. It actually has USB-C connectors to charge all the stuff in it, which is actually kind of cool. Then you get these little wind guards here, which are pretty nice. But they do, like the transmitters do have a little foam one built in that comes already installed. And you can take that off and you can put the windsock on it, I guess is what that's called. But we're just going to stick with this one right here because it's more compact. But yeah, you get two of the transmitters, which are just, they almost remind me of like the old Bluetooth like ear sets that people used to have whenever cell phones were first gaining popularity. You know, like you just hook it up to your phone and then you place it in your ear and you make phone calls and stuff like that through it. And it's probably using, honestly, pretty similar technology, right? Because all this is doing is taking the audio signal from your voice and then turning that into a Bluetooth transmission and then transmitting it over the transmitter and then having that transmission picked up by the Bluetooth receiver. I mean, for under $30, I mean, the quality doesn't feel too bad. It's what you'd expect for something that is under 30 bucks and obviously from China. For my purposes out here, I don't need anything all that fancy because I don't really have the skills yet to worry too much about like fancy equipment. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. Oh, I guess there are English instructions here. It comes with some instructions that let you know a little bit about it, but it's really, really self-explanatory. So I actually have my old cell phone here that I can show you how it works. You just take this guy, this is the receiver, and since this is a USB-C phone, you just plug that into the USB port. Well, the USB adapter, the connector, you plug that into the USB port on your phone. You then turn this guy on, you hold down the button for like 3 seconds like you do with almost any other Bluetooth device. And then with the transmitter, you do the same thing. You hold it down the button for a few seconds and then it turns on and then it pairs almost instantly. Like it doesn't take all that long for this to pair, it looks like, which is pretty cool. And then you're ready to go. Most phones, from what I understand, most phones would just recognize that you have a like USB microphone plugged into your phone. So then it would just default to the like audio input coming from the microphone source here. So let's plug this guy into my actual phone that I'm using to record right now. And I want to see if I can use this receiver on my phone that has a phone case, which I'm assuming it probably should, because you can see right here that this is fully inserted into the USB-C port on my old phone, and there's still quite a bit of the adapter sticking out. So I'm thinking that they made these with the idea that you're probably going to be having a case on your phone. So they try to make the USB adapters a little longer to give you that extra length to get into the port while it's still in a case. So let me plug this into the phone I'm using to record this video, and then we're just going to switch to the audio from this for the rest of the video, just so that I'm not like just kind of stumbling around and talking about, oh, this is what it sounds like, this and that, da, 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 da. I'm actually going to take this apart and I am going to see if I can figure out a better way to get USB power to this. This is my homemade magnetic stir that I made probably about 10 years ago at this point, over 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. it still works just fine, but the micro USB port that I use for charging all the battery in here, this port is just done for. It doesn't work anymore. So I'll take this apart and then assess how bad it is inside, if it's even worth salvaging, and then that'll give me a chance to use the microphone and test to see how well it picks up sounds and how good it sounds. But yeah, I'll just take it apart and just talk about it for a few minutes and see, so I can get some good quality video, well, some good quality audio speaking on camera to just see what the microphone sounds like. So let me stop the recording and then I will plug this in. Actually, I'm going to turn this off. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I'm going to turn these guys off before I plug it into my phone. Just continue the video from there. Alrighty, we are now recording through the lapel microphone. Unfortunately, I did have to take the case off of my phone. The USB port on the receiver wasn't quite long enough or quite deep enough to reach into my USB port with the case on, which I guess isn't the end of the world, but it is what it is. Hopefully the sound sounds okay. Let me get this out of the way. Don't need all this stuff. Alrighty, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to take the top off of this guy. The biggest reason why I want a lapel mic, something that I can just easily set up and use with my phone, is I've noticed in some of my videos, like that still air box that I did a review on in one of my latest videos. If the phone is really close to my face, obviously it's going to pick up that audio a lot more intensely. But also, just like me moving around, like my phone has stereo microphones, like left and right channel microphones, and it can sound kind of weird, like me going back and forth from left to right or whatever on video. So I kind of wanted to get a lapel mic to try and cut down on that. And also just so that I have more consistent audio. That way, if I do have to move away from my microphone, or if I do have to move away from my phone, the audio still stays consistent. Let's take this. I think I have washers underneath all of these screw holes as well, just to give, yeah. Oh, I had nuts. Okay. It's been a while since I've actually taken this apart. Let me get those out of there. Wow. Two. I forgot. My wife wrote that whenever we first got together on the inside. Come on. Hopefully the audio is good on this. I hope that it turned out okay. Hope that it's turning out okay. It's not too overwhelming or too underwhelming. You obviously don't want it to be too loud, but you also don't want it to be too soft. Dude, where is that other nut? Huh, I don't know. It's not really important right now. I'm sure it'll turn up. Oh, I see it. It's right here in the corner. There we go. All right. So yeah, this is actually one of the first functional electronic things that I've ever built. And you can see how it works. It just has a motor out of, I can't remember what I took the motor out of. I think it was an electric shaver or something, actually. And it just has an electric motor on the inside here. And then that's hot glued down with a lot of hot glue to the bottom that I think I used a compartment from like one of those compartmented trays. I cut that out and I used that to kind of mount the motor in, and then I hot glued all that. And then I actually somehow did a pretty good job at balancing, well, the magnets on this motor so that it doesn't wobble all around. So that's how the magnetic stirrer works. And then it just has hooked up to the motor. It has a little DC to DC converter so that it puts out a constant voltage no matter what the input voltage is. I think this will either bump down up to 30 volts to whatever voltage you want, down to like 1.5 volts, or it will bump up whatever voltage you want, as long as there's enough amps behind the voltage to, like, it'll bump like 2.5 volts up to 9 volts. I think that's what I have this set at. So this motor's a little underdriven just because it doesn't need to be super, super fast. And then I have that hooked up to a rather large 3,500 milliamp hour 26650 lithium ion battery And then I have some lead weights on the bottom just to give it some heft so that it doesn't like rock all around, so that it's not like super top heavy. And the modulation, like the motor speed control, is actually done through a module that I got off of Amazon, where you just put the voltage from your power source into the module right here, and then it has an output that you hook up to the motor itself, and then you can adjust the speed. Well, first it has an on-off switch built into the module, which is nice. And then you have a potentiometer that you can adjust the speed from 0 to 100%. And it's pretty gradient. It's pretty nice, like a really nice range of speed. So it's not like just on or just off. Like it does function like a real magnetic stirrer that you would buy for your laboratory needs. And like I said, I actually used this quite a bit before I got an actual purpose-made magnetic stirrer, like a standalone magnetic stirrer. I have a like semi-professional laboratory one over on my other workbench that I use now. But this one's just nice to have, like especially since it's battery powered, to just take with me if I need to like move to different workbenches or whatever. Oh, and I do also have a voltage display right here with an on-off switch, but that's not really all that important. And this little guy right here, this is the actual charging circuit. This is the micro USB lithium ion battery charging circuit that I just have hooked up to the battery down there. So whenever I plug a USB-C, micro USB cable into this, it charges the battery, but also I can use that USB cable to power the whole thing if I don't want to just use the battery. So it's kind of like dual purpose, and it worked really well until this micro USB port on this module failed, which is one reason why I have never really liked micro USB, because they are actually a pretty delicate connection. They're very prone to failure. So I think you can definitely tell that this was just engineered, and I use the term engineering very loosely here. This was just engineered very haphazardly with components that I could find around my workshop here. I like how I just stuck everything together with hot glue. But yeah, I think that I am going to take this charging module out of here, and I'm going to keep the charging module because the module itself is still working. It's just the USB connector on the back that's failing. So I want to see if I can feng shui this connector, this module out, so that I can solder a DC jack onto the back here instead of using the USB port. Like that way, I can just take a USB cable, cut off the end, and then put like a barrel connector on that USB cable, and then I could put the female adapter for that barrel connector on here to actually run this thing and to charge the battery. I think that would be a lot better than the current setup that I have right now. Let me go see if I have one over here. Now I'm going over to my other workbench. I just kind of want to see what it sounds like now that I'm like kind of far away from the phone. Not super far away, but further away than I usually am. Let's see, what drawer are you in? Those are batteries. Here we go. Here's all my connectors. Are you a barrel connector? That might work. Yes. Good. Okay. So yeah, I want to use one of these connectors right here, which is just a DC barrel connector, a female adapter that I can plug one of these guys into, because that's a way more secure and a lot stronger connection. I don't think I'll have to worry about this breaking as easily as a micro USB or even a USB-C port, which I love USB-C, but I think this will be a stronger connection. And since all I'm doing is using this to power it, I don't need the data lines. All I need is positive and negative. So yeah, I'll just cut the end off of a USB cable, solder the positive onto, probably do the positive onto the middle, and then the negative onto the shielding or the outside. So this arm will get the negative cable from the USB, and then this little part that's hanging off there will get the positive. Thread the USB cable in through the bottom here, screw that in, and then I'll have a custom built DC 5-volt USB cable that I can plug into any USB power source. I can use this off of any brick, but the only downside is now I'm not going to really have a universal connector. I'm not going to be able to really use just any USB cable for this, but you know what? It's fine. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do with this guy. And if that doesn't work, if it's not this thing that's causing the issues, then I'm probably just gonna harvest all the components out of here and just repurpose this hobby box for something else. But I definitely got my money's worth out of it. Just let me give you an idea of how old this thing is. I built this out of like a hobby box that I bought locally in store from a Radio Shack. All right, so it is a little old. It's a little dated. And then almost all the components that are in here were just scavenged from different things that I had laying around my shed, except for the pulse width modulation motor control, like speed control module that I bought specifically for this off of Amazon. But I already had the battery. Actually, my buddy gave me a bunch of these lithium batteries, so I finally found a use for one of those. The DC to DC converter, I had a bunch of those laying around from whenever I was really, really into electronics. The voltage display, once again, was just something I had laying around from whenever I was really into electronics. And then all the various switches. I have so many switches that are still kicking around just for in case I wanted to do something. But yeah, I think that's the plan. So I'll get that done, and then I'll let you know what's going on with it. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just do that, and then I'll just show you what it looks like. I'll show you if it's working, okay? So give me a bit. I'm not going to do that on camera because that's just going to take forever. So yeah, let me do that, and then I'll let you know how it's working. Alrighty, there we go. I got it all set back up, and I figured while I was at it, I may as well put an actual good toggle switch in this thing. So I took this old slide switch off the back that was for the on-off power, and I put a toggle switch just because I like toggle switches better. I finally got the barrel DC connector, the female connector in here. I have that hooked up to all this really bad wiring job, but you know what? I don't really care. And I got this really long USB cable that I got at Goodwill, and I put a barrel connector, like a DC connector, on that as well. So now, I haven't like glued this in or anything yet. This is just kind of friction fit in here until I make sure that everything works. But I'm pretty sure that everything's hooked up correctly. So yeah, let's plug the USB-A end of the USB cable into my power bank here. Turn on the power bank, plug that in, and there we go. She's spinning. Cool. All right. Well, I would say that is a success. Okay, good. Let me put the top back on here, and then I'll show you what it looks like with a magnetic stirrer on the plate. Oh, I have these nuts on here just to make sure that I have enough support to really cinch this aluminum plate down onto these posts, but also to give me enough clearance so that the top of the magnet is just barely at the level below this aluminum plate that I'm going to put on top, but also give me enough structure to cinch that down really tight. Oh, and if you're wondering, that right there is why the old micro USB port wasn't working for the charging circuit. It just fell off. It was just kind of hanging there. It wasn't really making any connection. So there's your problem. Get rid of that. Okay. Try not to dislodge those nuts, which actually is a really funny sentence to say. There we go. Seat that down in there. Everything's still nice and aligned. Down. It's easy. All right, the top is on. You can see, turn that on. The display comes on, and then you can go all the way from 0 all the way up to 100. So it's currently sitting at 0 right now. I do want to clean this off, but that is for another time. Let me get a magnetic stirrer. And what the heck, I'll get a beaker as well. I'll spin some liquid for you on camera. Okay. Right there. You can see that magnet really holds onto that magnetic stir bar really nicely, so you can go all the way up to 100 and it won't fly off. Put that in the beaker and spin her up. There we go. Works like a charm. Awesome. So hopefully this wireless Bluetooth microphone is working fairly well. So I got to do a little bit of a test and a review on the microphone, and I got to fix my homemade magnetic stir that holds a little bit of sentimental value to me because it's the first actual functioning thing that I ever built. So there you go. That's it. Well, I'm still going to use the video that I took for this video, but upon reviewing the clips that I recorded while using this as the audio source, I'm not really all that impressed with the audio for these things, from these things. It just doesn't sound all that great. I mean, I guess for 20 some dollars, like, I couldn't really expect a whole lot, but I thought that it would be a little bit better than what it is. So I don't know, any suggestions as to what to do to improve these? Maybe hold them. I had the microphone like clipped like right here. So look at all the dog hair on my shirt. But yeah, I had it clipped like right here, so it wasn't like super close to my mouth, but it wasn't super far away either. I thought that that was actually a pretty good distance for it to be. But man, I don't know. I am not really all that impressed with the quality of the audio from this, so I might not be using it as much as I thought I would be. I'll tinker with it and I'll see if I can get it working better than what it is in this video, but oh well. It is what it is. Okay, I think now that I turned down the gain on this microphone in my advanced camera settings and I moved the lapel mic down further on my body, I think that this might sound a little bit better. I'm still not all that impressed with this microphone, but I guess if I'm like outside, like doing like a YouTube video or something, if I'm walking through the woods, this probably wouldn't be that bad to have outdoors, just because I think that it would be a lot easier to deal with something like this rather than the inconsistencies that I get from like moving my phone all around while I'm recording stuff. I'm going to be getting a new phone here pretty soon, so hopefully maybe my new phone will have a better mic, which honestly, I don't think this phone has a bad microphone on it, but it's 4 years old at this point, so I need a new phone. But anyway, that's completely out of the scope of this video. I'm thinking I can just see by the you can't see it because it's on my screen right now in the video settings, but I can tell already that the audio levels that this is recording right now while I'm talking, they're nowhere near as high as they were before. Like looking back, it was totally peaking out. So I think that it peaking out the way it was, like the signal that comes from this microphone seems to be pretty hot, like very amplified. So it's a very loud signal, very noisy signal, and not noisy, but just a loud signal. And I think that that was kind of causing my audio to cut out a little bit here and there. So I think that by taking the sound level down from the microphone input by, I think the maximum was like 11 decibels, and by moving the microphone down from like closer, like further away from my mouth, this seems to be making quite a bit of difference, at least from what I can see on that bar that keeps jumping up and down as I'm talking. But we'll see what this sounds like. I do have some newfound hope in this microphone because I can't really blame the microphone right now for the subpar quality that you saw in the earlier part of this video, because I just plugged it in and I just started recording with it, which was kind of the point that I want. I just wanted something that I could just throw into my phone and then just have it. I wouldn't have to mess around with a bunch of settings and stuff. But I think that there might still be some hope for this if you're willing to do a little tinkering, and it's probably like phone specific too. So we'll see. But yeah, I do have some newfound hope for this thing. Oh well, we'll see.